All right, so I'm Alex. I'm with Fourandhalf. We do property management marketing, digital marketing for property management companies, and I have a wonderful guest today, Jordan. Jordan, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and your company?
Sure. My name is Jordan Muela. I'm the CEO of LeadSimple. We are the exclusive provider of lead management technology for the property management industry.
Simply put, if you want to organize your sales process and really get the results, I think LeadSimple is the way to go, and I'm very excited to have you here, sir.
Thank you.
First question. You know, you and I both work in a very unique industry, and what is, in your opinion, the most unique challenge the property managers face within the sales process realm, and how are you guys approaching it? How is LeadSimple solving it?
So there's three things that it boils down to at a simple level. I'd say we're talking about speed, we're talking about persistence, and we're talking about process. Speed meaning actually calling leads back in a timely manner. We did some research initially, which is kind of how we got into this industry, and what we found that was that on average, property managers were taking around 40 hours to actually respond to leads. And that's kind of a shocking stat, right? We actually found out that that's pretty in line with a lot of industries, but nonetheless, that's super, super slow. So the perception for most companies is that they respond a lot faster than that, even though that's not the case. So speed is huge. It is a huge conversion factor. I could quote stats at you all day long. Everybody knows that responding quickly matters, but really the truth is being first matters, particularly if leads are going to multiple companies, which oftentimes they are because consumers want choices. The second primary issue there was persistence. We're talking about the number of follow-up attempts either before getting in touch or giving up on the lead anywhere within the process, both on the front side as well as if a meeting falls through or if you send out a contract and it doesn't hear back. Staying on top of people, being aggressive in the short term and in the long term. And the third thing I mentioned was process. So actually having a structured and defined series of steps that you follow on a consistent basis so that every time a lead comes in, you're not taking a gamble on how they're going to be treated. That your consumers and leads should be experiencing a consistent sales process, no matter when the lead comes in or who in their company you're dealing with.
Gotcha. So basically get to the lead as fast as you can, and have a process and methodology for following up and making sure that you have as many touches as you need to optimize that particular lead and then move on to the next one.
That's right.
So your technology kind of enables this path and kind of maybe automates some of these steps and helps to control those elements. What do you say again? Speed. What was the second thing you said?
Persistence.
Persistence. Speed, persistence, and process. Very cool. Very cool. So you've done some demos for your customers. I'm just curious, what do people, like, what's the first thing that gets people to get really excited about your software? When property managers see it, what are they like, what's the aha moment?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's a couple of different features related to what I just listed off, those three problems. As far as speed, we have a call connector service that will essentially call you whenever a new lead comes in. You'll get notified in a couple of different ways. You get an email, you get a text message, but you also get a phone call that sounds something like, "Hi, you have a new lead from Fourandhalf. Lead's name is John Smith. Press 1 to accept." You're immediately connected to that prospect, or you could not press 1 and listen to some more details about the person, their name, property, their contact info, etc. Nonetheless, when you do press 1, you are connected instantly. So this is mathematically the fastest way that you can call people back. And it doesn't matter if you're a big company with 2 full-time inside sales guys, or if you're a part-time property manager just getting into the industry. This is fully automated. It's computer automated. And you can distribute your leads based on rules, round robin, etc. But that solves the speed problem, basically. The second thing in terms of persistence, we have a tracking system that is really handy and allows you to track actual calls and emails. And at the end of the day, everybody should be tracking their close rate. Most people don't. That's just the truth of the matter. But even if you are tracking your conversion rate, that tells you what? It doesn't tell you why. The why behind sales performance has to do with those actual constituent activities of calls and emails. So unless you're actually recording that information, you're kind of flying blind as far as diagnosing why your sales performance is what it is. And additionally, in terms of persistence, we do provide click-to-call functionality just to make it easier to contact people, right? So everybody has a backlog of leads that you kind of know you should follow up with, but for whatever reason, you're in the field, you're busy. With LeadSimple, you can actually pull down a call list, either on your desktop or on your mobile. So you could just have a list of 10 names and just press a button, press a button, press a button, and have the system automatically calling you and connecting you to those leads. So you're avoiding dialing phone numbers, and it just really speeds up the process.
Gotcha.
And the last thing was process. And related to process, we actually have a really cool new feature that we just rolled out called workflows. Workflows allow you to actually define and build out the steps of your sales process and say, okay, every time a lead comes in, I want to respond immediately. I want my second touch via email, let's say, to be a half hour later. I want my third touch, which is a phone call, to happen 3 hours later. I want another touch on day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, etc. Rather than writing that down or having no process, workflows allow you to define all that, or use one of the in-house workflows that we provide. We have a LeadSimple follow-up plan, which is a 10-touch, 20-day model that you can also adopt. So workflows are a really powerful thing. Those are definitely some features that come to mind as far as the bread and butter of why people use it. But the aha moment, if I was going to say anything, it would be this, particularly to this industry, which you're right, does have unique characteristics. One of those being that oftentimes there may be some older agents that are not as comfortable adopting a new system, older, younger, whoever, people that are not wanting to switch what they're doing. One of the beauties about LeadSimple is that you can effectively circumvent requiring your agents to log into the system and take notes. Really, they should be. That's just the way that things should be done. But for whatever reason, if that's where your company is at, you have a subset of agents that are just challenged in terms of using these types of systems, you can set up your permissions in LeadSimple so that agents are not able, or a certain agent is not able to view original contact information. What that means is whenever a new lead comes in, rather than seeing the original phone number and email address, you can set it such that you're only providing that agent with a tracked email and a tracked phone number. And so that means that every time and any time that agent contacts that prospect, 100% of those calls and emails will be tracked, documented, and recorded without that person ever even having to log into the system.
Gotcha. So some accountability. Now, to me, it was, I think the first thing you mentioned is right away, like it's a light bulb. So they get a phone call when the lead comes in. That's awesome. Now, does this mean that, and I'm being the marketing guy, I'm thinking already, you know, the mechanics of it, that means that you have a specific phone number assigned to them on a landing page, or how exactly does that work?
So with these calls, what we're talking about is when somebody fills out a capture form on your website, on a third-party lead generator website, etc., typically you get emailed notifying you about that lead. In this instance, though, that email instead is going to go into LeadSimple. And so whenever that happens, LeadSimple is then going to notify you about that new lead in 3 ways: call, email, and via the text. So that's what we're talking about.
So it's a form submission that's just being voiced over to the person.
Exactly.
May not be checking the email, but getting the phone call saying, "Hey, you got a lead. Boom, boom. Give them a call or follow your steps." So that's good. And I like the sales process, the definition. So I guess would you call it like the opportunity stages, right? The process, like the 10 touches with 10 days.
Yes, so that kind of brings up another interesting thing. We do provide a set of sales stages in the app that start off with new, I believe it's new, contacted, meeting scheduled, meeting completed, and then we provide some stages for nurturing and for lost leads as well. But when you say opportunity, another interesting thing to me about this industry is that generally speaking, most management companies treat everybody like a lead, regardless of whether or not they're a prospect or a true lead or a really hot lead. And what I mean by that is prospects have had some interaction with your brand, they're familiar with what you do, but they're not quite ready to buy yet. And quite often, it's for legitimate reasons. It's just a genuine timing issue. Most management companies are not providing any kind of compelling or engaging content to suck someone into their funnel before they're actually ready to give a management quote. I think that's what part of what you guys do, is to help entice and bring people into the funnel earlier through content. I think that's really, really compelling. And the other thing is, oftentimes a lead may move out of the lead category and become a prospect again. And what I mean by that is if somebody does contact you, has an initial meeting, but again, for whatever reason, they go cold or they say, contact me in 6 months, that's not a sales ready opportunity that you necessarily need to be hounding via the phone. They're still qualified, but you would want to put that person in a nurturing campaign or a nurturing status. So at some point they can jump into that sales process, and that's when you start up with phone follow-ups again, etc.
Really cool. No, I totally see this. This is I'm learning a lot actually from this conversation. This is good. So really kind of understanding and building out your sales process. In fact, I think it's true for other software systems that I've worked with or implemented. Is you begin a system like yours will not only help you do all these wonderful things, but it'll also help you think through your processes deeply and improve your internal processes as you implement. So instead of asking like, hey, why doesn't button do this? I think it's worth examining, what real goal is and how the software, helps you find that shortest path, right?
Right.
It's very interesting. So I commend you for this. One last question. How do you guys integrate with services like ours or maybe some other marketing companies that help property managers get leads? What's the best way to get that stuff in your system?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's a really simple process. We provide a tracking email address for any given lead source. For example, if you created an account with us, you would create a lead source that says Fourandhalf, and you would receive a specific email address for that lead source. So it's super easy to get it in the system. As big picture how it integrates by being able to automatically tag and say, okay, this lead came from 4.5. So you can actually know and define what lead came from where, which is really, really important. And the reality is, if you are advertising via 4.5 or any service for that matter, the higher your conversion rate, the lower your cost per contract. So your effective cost of what you are paying per contract just goes down the higher your conversion rate is. And that basic mechanic is where competitiveness comes from. The reality is that whether or not you're talking about all property management, AdWords, all of these marketplaces, the costs are going up. And the costs are going up because sales effectiveness is going up. And rather than people taking profits off of the table, they're reinvesting that additional margin that comes from a lower cost per contract into additional advertising, additional bidding, etc. So this kind of sales management stuff, it can feel kind of like a pat yourself on the back moment, but the reality is this is what's necessary just to stay competitive in an ever increasing competitive industry.
Agreed. Very cool, Jordan. Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you. I think we'll connect at another time, maybe discuss something a bit more specific. So if you have some ideas, shoot me an email. Meanwhile, if you guys have questions, Jordan is, what is your email, Jordan, where they can find you?
Jordan at LeadSimple.com.
Or LeadSimple.com or Alex at Fourandhalf.com. And we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.